Alrighty, welcome back. If you're getting something out of these tutorials, hit that subscribe button, please. We are now going to create a character camera. It's kind of important. This character camera will let us float around, get an overhead view, design view, depending on what kind of games you're designing. It will also give us a first-person view. We can drop down to the ground and run around and run into things, jump, and etc. So if anything, this camera probably does a little bit too much, but it's for design. Let's get going. I've added 4 planes to the main scene. Here are the sample scene in Unity. I've left them the default size, and I've just drug them to where they're next to each other. These two, I've put a material on them called black. So in the materials folder, you can create 2 materials, one called black, one called white, which is pretty self-explanatory. That one's no longer white. It's now pixel grass. Now it's white. And just drag them onto 4 planes. Go to our Commons folder, right click, create a new script, call it CharacterCamera. Thank you, Microsoft. Okay, and there is some script that I like to put at the top of labs, debugging code when code's just in development. And that's all of these disables, because all of these warning messages will pop up in Unity, and they're just annoying because I know I didn't use a field, or I know I commented out a field. So quit telling me. And that's what those pragmas do. Okay, camera. So we need a number of fields here, a number of local fields or member level fields. Give them some default values. These two are kind of crazy because they actually seem to work on the Z-axis, not the Y-axis. But we will set them to the Y-axis, or we'll set the Y-axis to these, compare the Y-axis against these. Rotation Y is simply a local variable, so we don't have to always access the Euler angle on the transform. And I do like to, if you haven't noticed yet, append everything with the member underscore, and that just stops confusion. I know some people now are just appending the underscore, and they end up getting bit in the booty over that one. move direction does have a value that is carried over across each call to the update function. So in other words, we could still have a value from the last call. That we are dealing with. Initial offset is how far our camera will be behind our game object that we have, that will be our character. Jumping is, am I in the process of, am I hitting the jump key right now? Finishing jump is, was I hitting the jump key before and I'm not on the ground yet, so I'm finishing the jump. Was moving is simply stating that I was moving on the last pass. These functions are called by, or these fields are set by the front end, mainly by panning with the mouse in the scene if we're using our camera as a design camera. Sorry to anyone using the closed captions there. I know that the code gets covered up by them. Speed is variable per pass. So it will change. Look around is for the first person. I leave it on all the time. This is for the mouse wheel. This really is horrible right here, but just in case we don't set our camera, if there are two cameras in the scene and we haven't set our camera, that can cause some odd behavior if the other camera is marked as the main camera. So if we are finishing our jump, or we was moving, or the input get key code W, or if we're being told by someone else to move, or if we get the key code S. Our current speed is equal to our speed. I actually have a speed modifier. And it is based on the shift key. I was about to say that was strange, but it's not. I got too many of those in there. So if we're pressing down the shift key, then we use our speed modifier. So this is a little redundant, but you can also move backwards by pressing the forward or pressing the W and then holding down the Alt key. But in this case, you go half the speed backwards instead of going full speed. Current speed is times equal to the speed modifier. So if you hold down the shift key, you go faster. If your speed modifier is set a number larger than 1. So that actually moves us in the correct direction. This basically is set up so you don't stop immediately when you let off. There's that little bit, that just couple seconds or less than a second of slowing down. So if I am holding down the backspace, then I'm trying to fall faster. So I've jumped, I'm trying to get back to the ground faster. So if I'm not finishing a jump, then my move direction is the current speed. If I am finishing a jump, meaning I'm floating, I might be floating forward if I jumped while I was running. So either we're pushing down on the jump button or something else is telling us to jump. And if we're not holding down the left controller, or we are being told to move up by something else, then jump. I guess the speed modifier doesn't make a lot of sense there, but I like it. Else, if we're not being told to move up, fall. Unless gravity's turned off. But we've already taken care of that. Else, if we're jumping and we're not pushing the button to jump, hey, quit that, Microsoft. Then we're not jumping, and we are finishing our jump. And was moving is equal to move. Else, on the next pass, if we are finishing our jump, current gravity is now equal to gravity. So we finished our jump. Or gravity is less than 0F. So yeah, you can actually put the gravity in reverse and float up into the sky. Turn everything off in that case. Else, the current gravity is equal to the gravity. So to float, you just turn off the gravity. So now we're going to look around a little bit. This is actually a pretty healthy function, I guess you would call it. Should be split up, but I like the way it is. So we use get mouse button because we want to check constantly. We don't want to check just on this pass. So we're just checking if the mouse button is actually held down. Whereas get mouse button down would actually just check it on one frame. And now we're putting the mouse look into play. And I think my implementation is pretty good. I haven't found one that gives me everything I want, like mine. Although I guess it could be cleaned up like everything else. So since our camera is a child of a game object that will be the actual character, we're mainly worried on it on the look around of looking around, or our transform for our game object, excuse me, not our camera. And then our camera itself, it gets a X rotation that is the Y rotation, because it is hosted to a parent object. Now G and H and the rest of these are mainly for design view, when you're looking down on the scene and you're designing, and they just pitch up and down. If you want to not let your players use the mouse, which there's a bunch of reasons you might not want to. I guess I could have copied and pasted a lot of this. See if we can't get away with copying and pasting our H. And that's pretty much it. For the H, that is, we have a little bit more code to go. And I just want to speed up my fall a little bit to make it a little bit less smooth. You might not like that. So if we have it marked to track scroll delta, the mouse wheel, and something is changing that, then we're going to update it. Should make a integer clamp for this, I guess. Because that's basically what I'm doing here. It's just this clamp, but and that's it for the code. Let's jump over to the scene and create our character camera. Okay, so right click in the hierarchy, create empty, reset the transform, clicking on the little not ellipse, rename it character, go ahead and drag it up to the top, drag the camera underneath it, add a character controller, and then add a character camera to it. Drag the camera into the camera position, drag the character on top of the controller under character. I'm going to turn off the gravity right now by setting it to 0. And I'm going to give that a negative 0.5 on the camera's initial offset. And then I'm going to raise it up to about 5 in the air and see how this works out for us here. No gravity. Let's turn the gravity on. 5, 5, 5. And that's how much my gravity is. My gravity is, I think gravity should be around 1250. I kind of glide to the ground, and you can see I'm kind of jumpy there. I don't know why I like that. I know a lot of people don't. And if we go off, we'll fall, but I'm holding down the space bar, so I'm jumping. And now I'm gliding into place. But we can turn off the gravity, go up into the air. G is up, H is down, D, A, or W, S. But if I go over here to my maximum Y, I set that to 0. And I set my minimum Y to, let's say, 90. I done that the wrong way somehow. No, I done that the right way. What am I doing wrong here? 64 negative. There we go. Set that to 0. That's 0. So I actually want this at like negative 45. That's as far as I can go. So that's for like a top-down view thing. And you can see my camera is 0.05 offset, so it did offset it. Now I want to double click on my camera to get on top of it. Right click on the camera and go to light, add a spotlight. And let's just drag that forward a little bit. And give it a spot angle of like 90. Yeah. But we'll turn the intensity down. It won't. And go back over here. Can't really see it in this. Well, black and white are not. They are. And there we go. You can see my little light shining right there. So that'll look a lot better in the scene. Okay, so right click on the assets folder, create a new folder, call it prefabs. Drag the character underneath prefabs And we've now created a prefabs object. The character camera is finished. It's ready for its show day. All right. So once again, if you like this tutorial, if it helped you out, please subscribe, and you will hear me in the next lesson. See you there.